Hello there everybody, how's it going? It's Jessie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff here on FlossTube, and I am coming to you on this Wednesday morning, January 23rd, 2019, with my next update video. I know it hasn't been very long since you saw me last, but here we are for another update. I've worked on more things than I ever anticipated, and so it's time to do another video, so here we are. Full disclosure, I'm a little sleepy. It's a lot earlier than I normally film, and so I haven't had my coffee. I have it here in my Starbucks New York City mug that I got while I was there with my brother a few years ago. And so I have my coffee here, but it's not in me yet, and so I'm a little sluggish. But I wanted to do this first thing this morning because I did this last Friday. Last Friday I filmed first thing. I got my my Year of Whips video done first thing in the morning, and that was fabulous. And so I'd like to repeat that. And hopefully I can do that moving forward. But I'm a little sleepy and maybe a little groggy. So what do we have on the docket for today? Not a whole lot. I have the projects I've worked on, and like I said, it's more than I would have ever expected at this point in the year, but we all know why that is. And then I have some plans because we have another week left of January here, just about a little bit more than another week. Some haul, not much though, and then I have 2 books to talk to you about. So yeah, not a whole lot on the docket today. And I don't have any Q&A. Nothing that I found that needed to be addressed here. I have had several requests for a demo showing you guys how I use the long frame adapter for my Lowry stand, and so I will definitely do that. I don't have that set up to do today, but I will do that in the coming weeks. So that you guys can see how that works. Let's just jump right in and we'll get started with the works in progress. Last Wednesday, the project that I was working on for my next rotation was my Whip Go Focus 2. And for January, that was Away We Ride by Blackbird Designs. This absolutely fabulous pattern. Started last fall sometime, maybe October, but I'm not entirely certain about that, but nonetheless, so love this, and my year-end goal for this piece was 5 days, and I put 5 days into it, but I stitched a lot on this piece for those 5 days. I'm like really excited about the progress that I made in just 5 days. So let's go ahead and show you. Fabric is 32 count Belfast in Sassenach by Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie, and I did a lot. So here we are now. I'm getting good colors this morning because I'm just using my fancy lighting, and I think that that's probably going to be the way to go from here on out. Anyway, so like I said, I got a ton done. I think when I started, I had just this corner of the outer border and maybe this inner border sort of zigzag and the letter A. That's all I had done. And in 5 days, I did all of this. And oh my goodness, do I love this. It's been just so much fun to work on. So much, in fact, that, well, I'll talk about that here in a second. So I got the text done. Now, most of these are not the called for colors because I wanted to utilize my stash. The only exception to that are the colors in the house. I thought that that was important to keep to what Blackbird chose. So that is maple syrup and wood smoke. And wood smoke is like one of my favorite Gentle Arts like ever. It's super variegated. It's super weird. There's greens and neutrals and browns, and it's good. It's just good. So you can see the wood smoke up there most predominantly, and then it's just throughout the house. I also got to work in my orange. My orange is Gentle Art Fragrant Cloves, and then my maroon is Classic Colorworks Razzleberry. This border here with these kind of moth-looking sort of ornaments, it's supposed to be the same as the light color in my border, which I'm using hickory sticks for that. But I chose a color in cotton in black walnut, and it's kind of got some bluey tones to it. I just thought that it would be, I just thought to add in another shade. It's dark, but it's it's just something different. Not to mention, I have finished out my first skein of hickory sticks. This pattern calls for 15 yards of that color. It's called for Garden Gate, but I didn't have Garden Gate at the time. And so it calls for 15 yards worth. So I knew that I was going to hit at least a third skein, and I used up my first skein of hick sticks. And I was going to work some more on the border before I put this down. But I am out of my darker shade, which is Espresso Bean from, I believe that's Gentle Art. I finished out my first skein of that, and I didn't have a second to break into yet. So I'll have to get that before I work on this next. So my year-end goal for this piece is 5 days, and I've done that. I put in my 5 days, and so I'm supposed to put this away. However, October is going to be a little different. I'm going to run October a lot like I did this last October, in that I'm going to alternate new starts and dark October whips. And so it's just going to be dark October all month long. And originally my plan was to just use Tiny Decisions to figure out what my next was going to be. However, I think that along with my new start of Jack's Bash and this, these two are guaranteed I'm gonna work on in October, because this needs some more love. I am not okay with putting it away, so I'm gonna give it some more love towards the end of the year, and I'm just gonna have to be okay with that. Fortunately, I have a ton of other things that I really love, and so it will be okay. I will survive, but it was good to work on that. I was to work on Away We Ride through Sunday, but I more than surpassed my goal. I did work on it on Sunday, but I didn't work on it all day. I ended up switching to another project. My goal for those 5 days was just to barely get into the house, and obviously I got a lot further down the house than I planned on. So I was comfortable with making the switch Sunday evening, and so, as I've told you guys, my intention was for Magical Stitches, School of Magical Stitches and Literature. I am doing those projects if and only if I've met my goal. And since I met my goal, there was a project that I needed to work on for the January Stitching Extra Credit. And we were supposed to work on, we were supposed to put in 300 stitches of DMC 934 to represent platform 9 3/4. And so I got a few of those stitches in on Perfect Christmas Santa, but it wasn't 300. So I needed to pull out something else to finish that up. And so I thought, well, I've got this time here on Sunday, I'll do that. So the project that I picked, fortunately, I haven't finished the trees in 2.5 years on this piece, and so there's still some 934 to go in. So this is Nantucket Rose by Lavender and Lace, and so that's what she will look like finished. And I am stitching this on 32 count Belfast in Flax by Zweigart, and I got a ton done. I must have had like a crazy stitching day on Sunday, because I got over 800 stitches done on this that day, which is a lot. So, I mean, I'm still in the trees, and I'm still in the trees for a while now, but I made a lot of really good progress in the trees, because I think before, I certainly didn't have any of this done, so I was over here, and then this sort of background tree is really what I ended up focusing on. I managed to get my 200 some stitches of 934 between these two sections, so that was no big deal. And then I just kept working on it. I think there was another reason that I was working on it. It was for... Oh, it was another one of the extra credit assignments. We were to do... we were to put in 500 stitches on a project where the designer has letters in the name that are also found in the word stone for Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And so this has an N and an E in lavender and lace. And so I put in 500 more stitches on this for that. So that was pretty great. I managed to accomplish 2 tasks in one evening on one project. I'm about it. So there is that. My year-end goal for Nantucket Rose is 5 days, and I've already put in 1. So that will be interesting when this gets called. I will put in 4 more days on it, and then I have a free day to do with what I please. Either make more progress or switch it up. Who knows? Okay, Monday morning was the start of my next rotation, and my next 5-day rotation, and this 5-day rotation is my second on In This Moment, artwork by Jeremiah Kettner, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs, of course, aka McKenna. Super excited to be working on this again. And so I've put in 2 days. I haven't stitched on it yet. And so let me just go ahead and show you where I'm up to. Let me remove the clip that everybody thinks is a spider. And so that is where I'm at currently. So I'm working on page 4, and I've put in 1,270 stitches so far. So what I have done, I finished up the leaf is really the only remarkable thing. And here at the bottom of this diagonal, I will get to the crown of her head, which is exciting. So let me just hold this up for a few more minutes. The fabric here is 25 count Lugana in cream by Zweigart. I'm stitching this 1/1 full cross, which is my Heaven and Earth Designs way. So yeah, that's my progress on In This Moment thus far. So I have another 3 days with it, and I'm hoping to get, I think I set my goal at another 2,500 stitches for this rotation. So 1,200 down, I'm just about halfway. So well on my way to reaching that goal. Magical Stitches seems to be driving most of my whips, really. On Monday morning, we got our homework for this week with Magical Stitches, and this week we are focusing on the tasks leading up to the Sorcerer's Stone. So in the books, there were 7 tasks. A couple of them didn't make it to the movie, but that's all right. Not a big deal. I'm not salty about it or anything. It's fine. So our homework is with relation to those tasks. And so we have to put in 100 stitches on a project somehow relating to each of the tasks. So for instance, the first task is about Fluffy, getting past Fluffy and getting through the trapdoor. Fluffy is a dog, for those of you who don't know, with a particular characteristic or 3, and So our task was to stitch on something with an animal. We get extra credit if it's a dog, but nonetheless, it's got to have an animal. But here's the thing about this homework. You have to stitch on the thing. So you can't just stitch on a project that has an animal in it somewhere. You have to stitch on the animal itself. So that's a really important thing. If you don't have that, then there's alternates and whatnot. But those of you who are invested in this, you understand. So for the first 3 tasks, I chose one project. I was able to get this one project to fit for 3 of them. And that was pretty great. On Monday evening, I had reached my goal, my daily goal, and in this moment, my pie in the sky goal, really. And so I thought, well, I guess I'll switch and work on this project for a little bit to try to get some of these tasks worked down. And so that is Opus 2 by Long Dog Samplers. And so I'll show you what I did and talk you through the tasks that I was able to get this done for. So there's that. All right, so this is on 32 count linen in Oyster by MCG Textiles. I'm stitching it using DMC 924, and that is relevant because of the second task. So I'm working in the bottom right corner here, and you'll see a hodgepodge of things. So I'm just gonna fold it up and bring it in so that you guys can see. So the first thing I did was I stitched on a dog for the fluffy task. So I got that done. Then the next task is about Devil's Snare. Devil's Snare is a plant, and so we had to stitch on something green. Bonus points if it's a plant. Well, my thread is DMC 924, which is very dark gray-green, I believe is what it is called, what the color name is. And so I started working on this motif here. This motif here features 2 deer and this flower business going on, growing out of their antlers. So that was pretty cool. And let me pull that pattern back so that you guys can see that. It's this one right here. You see that? So I got that part done. Then the next task in the Sorcerer's Stone is the winged key room. And so we had to work on something with metal, so like using metallics or beads, or we had to stitch on keys or locks or something like that. See that down there? Isn't that cool? I got a couple of keys and a lock. So I had to count over, which was a little scary because that's quite a gap. But nonetheless, got it done. And so I have found the bottom right corner of the pattern. And I'm pretty pleased. Super excited about not only getting 3 tasks done, but getting to work on this a little bit. Just a weird assortment of things accomplished, but that's okay. So that is it for Opus 2. All right, so let's switch over to plans. Magical Stitches is affecting my plans quite a bit here, which is okay. It's just fine. I'm not worried about it in the slightest. So my immediate plans are to work on In This Moment, and I have that through Friday. And I need to get a move on with my Sorcerer's Stone path because I'm using that piece for 1 or 2 of the upcoming, the last 4 tasks. I think 2 of them. So I've got to get moving so that I can get to that before I put it away after Friday. Okay, so the next task is Wizard's Chess. And so we had to stitch on something royalty, somehow related to royalty. And so I chose Queen Anne's Lace by Nora Corbett because Queen in the title. And so preview here of what this will look like finished because I don't have a physical one handy. This is where I'm starting from. Fabric is 28 count cashel linen in Crystal Wren by Picture This Plus. And so I am going to come up here and work on her crown, because Queen in the name is great, but if I can work on an actual thing that's royalty related, then that would be ideal. So I'll work on her crown a little bit, whatever I can do. I think that it's made up by a lot of beads, and there might be some Krynic in there, so I'll have to check my stash, see what I've got, and try to get in 100 stitches on her crown. So there's that. And then I don't remember what the last 3 tasks are sort of in order. So at one point we need something that has specialty stitches. And so I will be working on Papillon Creations Around the World in 80 Stitches. This is just part 1 of 24. This is hashtag not a heart, the Katie sampler, my Raunchy sampler, all of the things. And this is on 32 count Belfast in Friendship Green by Hand-Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. And that's where I'm starting from. This piece features a lot of specialty stitches, 80 to be exact, and most of which I've never heard of, and I have to follow diagrams. So this is a really great piece to use for this. So I'll try to fill in the rest of that heart, and if I don't get 100 stitches, then I'll come over and start on the next one. So there is that. And this is using a hodgepodge of hand-dyed things. So I've got those 3 projects that will be worked on at some point between now and Friday. Then Saturday starts my next rotation, and this rotation is different. It is my temperature balloons by Stitchin' Mommy. And I'm super excited to get into this and to start filling in some data. I have been recording the Blacksburg January temperatures, and it's all over the place, as one might expect. 20, and then 45, and then 30, and then 20, and then like it's all over the place. So this is going to be really abstract, and I'm excited about it. So that's just a general idea. I have this started, just the cloud to say I got it started, and I have it gridded so that I know where to start from. And so there's my cloud. There it is. This fabric is 32 count Belfast in Snowdrifts by Hand-Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. And so I have allotted this 3 days. I don't know if 3 days is going to be enough because I haven't worked on this yet. I'm not really sure what my timeline is. So I've got it 3 days, but I have a few more days at the end of the month that I can play with this. So we'll see what happens. Not entirely sure quite yet. After I finish temperature balloons, whether it takes me 1 day or 4, I still have a couple days left of the month. I don't know exactly what I'm going to work on. I'm going to spin tiny decisions, or I'm going to choose something. I'm leaning towards working on Not Quite White work because I need it for January stitching extra credit. My Gryffindor team needs some extra credit, so my Gryffindor house rather. So I am leaning towards that, but we'll see how it shakes out. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with those last days. I also don't know how much time I'm going to have, so we'll see what happens. Stay tuned. So there's that. My December fabric of the month from Hand-Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. I canceled both of my fabrics of the month. It makes me very sad. I have one more coming from Stephanie because I accidentally paid it on January 1st. It's just out of habit. Like I open up my email. Oh, you have an invoice from so-and-so. I pay it. And then I was like, wait. But it's fine. Not a big deal. So this is December's fabric of the month. And this is 32 count Belfast in Sussex. And it's gorgeous. Like, gorgeous. It kind of reminds me of Tempest a little bit. So maybe that's why I'm super obsessed with it. which is what I did my Persephone on. But it's beautiful. This is stunning. And so it will go into the stash to be used next year. So that's that. So, like I said, I have one more fabric of the month coming from Stephanie, and then that's it. Because I'm not starting things this year, except for that one little month, there's no sense in me piling on more fabrics and spending money on more fabrics that I'm not using. Trying to sort of shuffle that money into all of these threads that I'm getting nowadays. So there's that. I talked about maybe doing my own fabric of the month because I would like to build up my neutral stash. I also thought about joining Crazy Annie Stitching Picture This Plus neutrals, but I just decided I'm good. I'm not starting anything. So what do I need to stash up on fabric for? I mean, other than the hoarding that is an aspect of stitching, but anyway. So that is it for the haul. So let's switch over and real quick talk about books. I have finished one book since we spoke last, and that was Jem and Dixie by Sarah Zarr. I ended up rating this book 3 stars. So the beginning of the book was pretty strong. I was interested in what the main character Jem was going through, and trying to see sort of where this was going to go. The middle of the book was forgettable. It felt like, I think I posted this in my review, like a means to an end more than actual plot-driven events. Like, this was just filler in the middle of the book to get from start to finish. I could care less about the middle of the book. And then the end got a little bit stronger again, and I even had some emotions about the end of it. So Jem and Dixie is about, mostly it's about Jem. Jem is the older sister, Dixie is the younger sister. They got the short end of the stick as far as parents are concerned. Their parents are not involved in their lives. Their parents, their dad is kind of there and back again, like he is inconsistent. Mom is sort of taking care of them in that she keeps a roof over their heads, but she's got a drug problem, and she's not very good at taking care of her kids. And so Jem has had to step up and be the parent, not only towards her sister, who's just a couple years younger than her, but also to her parents to make sure that her mom is still breathing every day. So her life is pretty tough. She's had to have a job so that she could put food on the table. Like, it's really, it's not a good situation for any 17-year-old. Okay. Some things happen, and Jem and Dixie have a bunch of money all of a sudden, and so they kind of end up taking the weekend, taking a few days, it wasn't even the weekend, they skipped school, whatever, to roam around Seattle and the islands and whatnot. And there's just this weird thing. So basically the whole premise for why they go on this trip is that Jem thinks that she's going to bail. Like, she's like, I can't go home. Like, I can't live this life anymore. I don't know who I am, or, like, it's not up to me to take care of everybody. So I'm going to take this money and run. And so she ends up taking her sister. Anyway, the middle of the book just really, like, I don't know, the whole time I was going, really? Like, there's a lot of suspension of disbelief in the middle. So I ended up rating it 3 stars, like I said. I ended up liking Jem a little bit more. I could almost kind of sort of relate to what Jem was going through, but I couldn't relate to her as a character. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so I just found it to be okay. Not my favorite Sarah Zarr book. If you want to check out some YA contemporary by her, How to Save a Life is so much stronger than this was. So much stronger. Okay, so I finished that up. Then I decided to start another audiobook because I had listened to Gem and Dixie. And I needed a book with an N, either in the title or in the author's first and last name. I also needed a book for Magical Stitches in Literature January extra credit reading that had a character whose first or last name was the same as a character in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. So the book that I picked is a very popular crime thriller series. Not true crime, but like James Patterson. And it is Joe Nesbo and his Harry Hole series, Detective Harry Hole. So Joe Nesbo is a Norwegian author, and this is an extremely popular series. And I have never read Joe Nesbo, so I was really excited to get in. So the first book in the series is called The Bat, and basically what happens is a Norwegian woman is murdered in Sydney, Australia, and so Harry goes to Sydney as sort of a consultant to try to help Australian police figure out what the heck happened and who is responsible for this and whatnot. He's kind of there consulting. It's a very weird dynamic thus far. So this was written in the 90s, and it touches on a lot of modern day things. They touched on race, on the mistreatment of Aboriginal people. They touch on transgenders and drag queens, and I'm like, so this book is 20 years old and it's super relevant still today. It's pretty wild. Anyway, so that's been pretty interesting so far. I'm only about 50 pages in, so no real development yet. Not really sure where it's going yet, so we'll see. So that is what I'm currently reading on audiobook. I haven't read from Harry, and I haven't read from The Quick since my last video. So I need to get on that because we are coming down to the wire on this month, and I need to have both of those read before the end of the month. So I think that these are probably going to be my last 3 books this month if I can get through them. So yeah, that's my focus. But we'll see what happens. I will update you guys next week. And so I think that that's everything that I have for you today. So not too long of a video. I'm pretty excited about that. So with that, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your continued support of me and my channel and everything that I do. Thanks for listening to me ramble an awful lot about magical stitches. I can't help it. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So I will see you all next time. I hope that you're well. I hope that you're stitching. And as always, y'all, be kind.